Hey everybody, Nate Lee here, and I woke up this morning to cold weather here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's 26 out right now, which for a lot of you that's not cold, but for Tennessee that's cold. And I cannot get my mandolin in tune. I also noticed my action was a little higher than I'd like it to be, so to make everything better, I adjusted my action, and now I really can't get in tune. So instead of doing something melodic today, I'm going to show you how to do the thunder chop. This is the chop technique for your angry face bluegrass, your newgrass, and all kinds of other stuff. So here's how you do the thunder chop. Well, first let me tell you why the thunder chop is important. But most people, most bluegrass mandolin players anyway, chop like this. And it just doesn't sound that good. For one, you probably can barely hear it right now. It's just weak and it makes 4 sounds instead of 1. And the reason for that is that the chop is lacking velocity. It's lacking velocity. So the chop is lacking velocity, and it's not using the weight of the arm to make the volume and tone that it could be making. So here's how you make the thunder chop. Now we're going to be doing all muted chops so that we can remove the variable of the left hand and different chords, and instead just be thinking about the right hand. So your left hand's job is going to be in the middle of the neck, that's where the best tone is, to be muting all of the strings, and to just push down the slightest bit on those strings, because that's the difference between this chop and this chop. Now if you don't hear the difference, that's okay. Those of you who are really experienced probably do all hear the difference. For those of you who are beginners or intermediate or even advanced players, you may not hear the difference, and that's totally okay. As you hone your ear, you will learn to hear that difference. I'm also not in a professional recording studio here, as you might have guessed. I've got a good mic, but it's just running straight into the computer, and there's only so much that you can do with that setup. So it's harder to hear those differences compared to if you were just sitting right in front of me. So here's the right hand technique for the thunder chop. What you're going to do is you're going to raise your arm just like this. It's raising from the elbow, and just imagine there's a string attached right here and it's pulling your hand up, and just let your wrist flop and follow along. It's just along for the ride. Our emotions in the chop are going to be very much like if you took your arm and just did this. Now, I'm not moving my wrist back and forth. I'm moving my arm, and my wrist is just flopping around. You know, they say to make a good chop, it should be like shaking a rag. And then most people think of it like, all right, I'm holding the rag and I'm going to do this. Well, no, your hand is the rag in this situation. So we're going to raise that arm up like this. And depending on the size of your hand and arm, the spot that you stop could be different. But for me, it's right at the top of the mandolin roughly. And at that point, the wrist is going to come up and the hand's going to turn into, to think about this when it's on camera, into what we call an out picking position. So that means the pinky comes away from the top. And then we're ready to come down. When we come down, we're going to switch into this position. The pinky's close to the top, and the wrist is now going to activate and start to help make this motion happen. It's arm and wrist together. And while you do that, your right hand should sweep like this. And it's a complicated motion. It's the reason that most players don't have a solid chop, is because this takes a lot to learn it, and maybe there's been no one to show you how to. So here we are, I'm showing you how. I won't lie to you, this is going to take a while to get down for most people, but stick it out, it's totally worth it. So there's a couple more steps that you need to make a really good thunder chop. And without those steps, the chop is still going to be fairly weak. So one of them is follow through. You need to follow through all the way down to here. That gets the impact you need to make a good chop. If you stop when you hit the E string, you're going to get a weak chop. Gotta follow through. But there's still one step missing that has made it less deep than it could be. And that is when you hit the strings, you should squeeze all your fingers and your thumb in on that pick like this. So if it's here, you're nice and loose. when you go to bring that pick down, just squeeze those in like that. It's the difference between this and this. Huge, huge difference. So that's what you need to do for the thunder chop. So in summary, the left hand's in the middle of the neck, muting all of the strings. You're pushing down just a little bit on the strings. Your right hand is coming up. That string is pulling the arm up and the hand is just following. When we get to the top, we're coming out to this angle. As we start to turn this corner to come back down, the hand turns back this direction. The pinky's closer to the top now. We sweep across the strings in this motion, follow through all the way, and squeeze that pick as it follows, or as it cuts through those strings. You want to do this with a lot of speed. At first, you're going to have to move really slow, but you should do this with a lot of speed once you've got it down to get a single sound instead of 4 different sounds. And that's what you need to go from this to this. It's what you need to play your angry face bluegrass or your newgrass or maybe your jam grass. It's a one-size-fits-all chop that works with lots and lots of stuff. So I hope you have fun with it. Some of you probably picked this up very quickly. Most people won't pick it up quickly, and that is okay. If you want some help getting this down, feel free to reach out for a lesson at playnately.com. That's playnately.com. You can sign up for a lesson there. You can also ask questions, and I'll answer them down in the comments. Happy to do that. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I missed. All right, bye.